Calgary Battletech League presents Ellyrian's Command Coach, where your host Brett will cover Battletech rules, league strategies, maps, and hints and tricks that can turn a player into a champion.
Good evening and salutations, Battletech fans. Today we're doing part 2 of the Command Couch, where we visit the arenas of the CBL. Back in the day, I used the Heavy Metal Pro program to create our first 5 maps. So they are completely something that is not available anywhere else, because they were built literally hex by hex and printed out on a wide format printer and then laminated, so that we have something that is stood the test of time. After that, we've decided to add in 3 additional maps. The first of our 3 additional maps we have added from the Tachyiid map pack. After that, we picked up the Alien Worlds to add in the other 2 to complete our 8 custom maps for this season. Last season, they were just interesting maps that people could play on. This season, we're going to be adding environmental effects for each of the maps. It is going to be set per map at the beginning of the season, and it will be the same for the entire season, so our players will not have to worry about rolling on a chart to see if the wind is blowing, or if it's twilight, or if it's, high gravity or low gravity. They will just have to worry about which map I'm playing on and what rules are pertaining to that specific map. Our first custom map, Dusty Plains. This map has a very different environmental rule. When playing on this map, no single mech can visually see more than 15 hexes. What this means is that range brackets are unaffected, so a mech shooting long-range missiles at 14 hexes is still at medium range. However, anything at 16 hexes or further is no longer targetable because you can't see it. Player A will be starting on the left side of the map. They will see 2 elevated positions near the center where the maps meet and is a good place for partial cover, as well as a good range bracket to cover the whole board. The defending player will be starting on the right-hand side. Not really much to say about the right-hand side of the map. Both maps have sparse trees and wide open areas to run around in, which will be needed to try and close into that distance so that you can see and shoot at your targets. Our second custom map, labeled Fortress. This map does not really have any special rules. However, it is over half concrete, so the amount of pavement is going to be the special scenario for this one. As players have to run on concrete and make piloting checks if they turn and then start forward movement again. If there's any questions, please ask an admin when you're using this map, but it should be pretty straightforward after that. Our third custom map, the Winter Wonderland. Coming from the Great White North, we bring you -5 heat. Each mech in the arena will dissipate an additional effective 5 heat each turn due to the frigid winter conditions. Welcome to the Winter Prairies. There are some scattered trees. With that in mind, please ignore the extra heavy and treat them as heavy instead. We do see some scattered hills, a little bit of water, and there are some ice hexes, which are going to be treated as just level 0 water instead. To summarize, this is a lot of scattered terrain features, and you dissipate an additional 5 heat. Go team, go. Custom map number 4, Heavy Hitters. Alright, fight fans, now for something totally different. High gravity. This arena has been set on with some extra challenges. Your mech will be tooled as if they were running on a high gravity world. What it means when you're on a high gravity world is that your base walking move will be recalculated to only 0.75 or 75% of normal. A 2-3 moving mech becomes a 1-2. If your original movement was 3-5, congratulations, you're now a 2-3 mover. If you started off as 4-6, well, you're now that 3-5. 5-8? Nope, not anymore. If you had a 5-8 movement, your mech is now moving 4-6. Now here's where it starts to get a little bit more convoluted. If your mech moved 6-9 or 7-11, it actually becomes a 5-8 mover. And if you were an 8-12, you're now moving 6-9. So, welcome to a whole lot slower slugfest. Our attacker, entering from the left map, will see 2 long diagonal hills. The defender, entering on the right-hand side, has 2 moderate-sized lakes and 1 decent-sized hill. Spread over the map is a smattering of trees if you really want to avoid getting hit with a physical attack. Also, one of those lakes has a 1 hex island on it, so just jump in there and be safe for the rest of the game from getting kicked or punched. While we're talking on that, high gravity does not actually affect jumping. So if you originally had a 5-8-5 moving mech, well, congratulations, you are now moving 4-6-5. Strictly speaking, out of the rulebooks, it does recalculate jumping moves, but with the CBL, we are not using that, just like we're not using the additional piloting check modifiers or the additional hit modifiers for different weapons. We want to keep the additional rules simple, straight, and very basic. So high gravity, heavy hitters, welcome to just moving slower on the ground. Custom map number 5, the last of our personally printed maps, Mists of Despair. This arena is filled by a deceptively wet mist. In game terms, any energy-based weapon, lasers or PPCs, will all suffer a 1-point penalty due to the dissipation factors of the mist. The attacker, entering from the left side of the map, will be going through a forested area. It is open, closed, open trees, open heavy, open light, but it is almost half covered by light and medium woods smattered throughout it, with open hexes in between. Your defender, entering from the right side of the map. They have a few trees, but mostly they're all heavy. Ignore the 1 extra heavy, and treat it as a regular heavy instead, please. There is also some elevated points with woods, so good lines of sight to be had for all. Pathfinders and forest fire pilots will delight on this map, as they will have a fantastic time, especially if they're rocking ballistic or missile weapons. And now, first season we had a 6 custom map, but because it was printed and the 2 map sides did not match in color, we have replaced it. So this year, we are using the Alien world as our custom map number 6. How hot is it? It's damn hot, man. It's so hot my mech thinks I've taken an engine hit. +5 to heat every turn of the game. No trees survive in this arena, and looks a lot like the hoodoos if they were golden, yellow, and green instead. This map make you want to rub your eyes just from the colors of it, but it should be fairly interesting. Now, there's lots and lots of line of sight blocking rock pillars, just like hoodoos, and you can move around blocking line of sight as well because they're usually fairly high. Otherwise, this map is very straightforward, little to talk about. Remember to add your +5 heat in every heat phase, please, both players. This takes us into custom map number 7. We had 6 maps in Season 1, we're expanding to 8, and number 7 is the Radis River Delta. This map set came from the Battle of Takiad set. It is a beautiful map, it is wonderful to look at, and I have a feeling we're going to have players say, it sure was nice to play on this map, but my god was it a pain, and it's going to be so slow to move around on. While beautiful, this map is very busy. Depth 1 water has a 1-point movement penalty to enter. There is no elevation change, so it is only the 1-point additional movement cost for entering a water hex. And remember, you cannot use running movement while traveling through water. but every water hex you travel through does require a piloting skill roll. Now, the next feature on this map that's fairly interesting, Mud and Swamp. Technically, these both have different rules out of the tactical book. However, to make things a little bit more streamlined, the Calgary Battletech League will be using the same rule for either a mud hex or a swamp hex. Each of these hexes, just like Depth 0 water, requires an additional movement point to enter, just kind of like Rubble would. It also requires a piloting skill roll, just like Rubble would. However, in Rubble, if you fail the piloting roll, you would fall down. In Mud or Swamp, you get bogged down, and it ends your movement at that point. As an example, an Awesome walks into Mud Hex, spends 1 movement for the Hex, 1 movement for the Mud, he makes his piloting check, and he carries forward into a Clear Hex for another movement, 3 points total spent on a walk move. Following that, a Wolverine comes running along, spends 1 movement point to enter that Plains Hex, 1 point to enter the Mud Hex, 1 point for the Mud, makes his movement piloting check, fails, and is now bogged down. He has moved 2 hexes, no defensive modifier, sucks to be him. Now, the other part of being bogged down, an immobile mech normally is -4 to be hit. Bogged down mechs, while they ended their movement abruptly, are also at -2 to be hit, because they can still wiggle around, they can still move defensively, but they are stuck in the hex, so they can't just keep going. For our needs, there are hexes labeled foliage. These will be treated as light woods, as normally it is a levels 1 woods and only affects infantry and tanks. However, we're going to keep it straight and simple. As a level 2 woods, it's 1 movement additional to get into that hex, and like any other wood, it provides a +1 defensive modifier. In summary, this map is going to be a challenge to move around in. It is going to make for a very difficult battlefield, but it should make for a nice change of pace for anybody who wants to play on it and just wants to see a map that they wouldn't normally have an experience playing on. Now, potentially our most entertaining map of all. Map number 8, our Moon Base. This is using the lunar base out of the Alien World map pack. Alright, here we have the arena that we recently built on the moon. We only just got permission, so we put this up there this year. Welcome to the 2nd season, and potentially one of the most entertaining maps to play on. Where high gravity environment makes mechs move slow, here is a low gravity environment where you will go faster. So much faster. The gravity on this world is only 0.75. Here, we have to recalculate walking speeds and then run speed based on that as a result. Jump jets are not impacted as they are a set movement, 1 hex per jump jet for distance. Your 2-3 move in Annihilator? Nope, not on the moon, you're going 3-5. 3-5 move in Atlas? Ha! Slowpoke, you're now bombing around at 4-6. A 4-6 move in Archer becomes a 5-8 blistering running around machine. Any of those 5-8 movers have bumped up to 6-9. If you moved 6-9 before, well, congratulations, you're now going 8-12. And if you were 7-11, well, expect to be moved crazy fast, because now you're going 9-14. And if you were one of those annoying Kakadas that was 8-12 to begin with, well, now you are a blistering 10-15 speed. Enjoy your new speed, but use it sparingly because it comes with a risk. Now that you're seeing red and going faster, there is a significant risk factor to talk about. If you exceed your normal movement maximum speed, you must make a piloting skill roll with no modifiers. If you fail, both legs will each take 1 point of damage per movement point used above normal. Because you have taken internal damage, you then get to make a critical hits check for each leg. A result of 12 will result in 3 critical hits rather than the limb being blown off. So, here's an example. Your Archer normally moves 4-6. On the moon, it moves 5-8. You decide you're going to use all 8 movement points. You make your move, you calculate out the whole distance, you move your mech. At the end of your move, you roll a piloting skill roll. Oops, failed. All of a sudden, because you exceeded your movement by 4 points, each leg takes 4 points internal structure, and you roll a critical on each leg. Your left leg comes up fine, no critical hits. Your right leg, you roll 12. Now, instead of taking that limb blown off, you just roll 3 critical hits because the limb is still physically attached. There are also 4 domes on this map. They can be landed on or moved up, just like a hill, but they cannot be entered.
Nope.
Be aware that the walls on this map have been adjusted, whereas they are a pathway on the normal lunar map. We have adjusted them to level 1 so that they are a wall instead. This will be clearly marked in ink on the map. And that, folks, will bring us to an end of part 2 of our maps. So there's only 8 to go through, but they are all custom and they all have special rules. Remember, when you set up with your opponent, you have a choice to play on a standard map sheet. You would roll a d12 to pick which one of the standard maps. If you choose to roll on the custom maps, you would roll a d8, and we would confer against the custom map that you roll up. If one player out of the 2 says that they don't really like that after the end, once you figure out which map you're supposed to be playing on, you have the choice to veto it and play on the default map set instead. We don't want anybody to have any unfun experiences, and some of these maps can be very challenging. Some of them can just be very entertaining. At the end of the day, we want everybody to have fun, so we've also got those default maps. If you take a risk, roll the dice, and it comes up as something that you think is just going to make for a bad day, don't worry about it, skip it, grab a default, and just have a good game. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. This has been part 2 of our Arenas of the Calgary Battletech League. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to be notified when the next episode pops up. And we will have a new exciting announcement coming up regarding our subscribers. Once we have a little bit more information for that, tune in and be pretty excited because it is pretty exciting news.